Well, one thing I'll say for sure, this one ain't for the kids. So we have the Handmaiden. I wasn't really sure what to do for I didn't really have an opening skit idea for this film aside from the whole, in the old hoo ha. But this film is kind of random, so I chose the most random shirt that I had. Sure. Not really sure how to go about talking about this one. I mean, it's just a weird movie, I guess. Weird, but good. So this was another request on my list of requests that I was trying to knock out. And this one actually came out in 2016, so not too old, but, within the last 4 years or so. And you can definitely tell that it itself has taken inspiration from other films, but also inspired films as well. So basically, before I get really into it, The Handmaiden is directed by Park Chan-wook, I believe is the name that we're looking at here. If you don't know the name, you'd probably know the filmography more. There's some movies that are pretty infamous, or famous rather, that he's done that might have made their way more to America. The reboots, the remakes certainly have. He did Old Boy, which was remade in America with Josh Brolin, and kind of came to mixed reviews for sure. But also Lady Vengeance, which I believe is the sequel to Old Boy. So those are the two biggest ones he's known for. Granted, he's done other work, but if you were known for anything, it'd be for that. We're going to start with this film. It was requested that I watch it. That was like, oh, I think you'll enjoy this. I want you to watch this. It was just maybe because it's a very quirky yet dark comedy yet drama yet this movie got very sexual. Like, not in the way of, I don't want to use the term borderline pornography, but there's definitely some moments where I'm just like, oh, okay, well, I'm not sure what I'm I know what I'm watching right now and I get it, but man, it's like the opening to like a Pornhub original right now. I was going to have a skit for opening this one, but it's really hard to figure out a way to put bells into my vagina without getting flagged for pornography. So I don't know. I just chose the most random shirt because when I was watching this movie, it became the most random viewing experience I'd ever had. I went into this movie blind. I was just told, watch this. But let me start with a positive here with this movie. So, like I said, I really enjoyed it. Really good story. I was really fascinating story. I was interested. When the movie first starts, immediately I got heavy Parasite vibes and then realized, well, Parasite came out literally years after this came out. So if anything, Parasite derived some of its plot from this movie. But then again, this movie is not by any means the first telling of this kind of story. Not to mention, the story in this movie changes it up again and again here and there, which then again reminded me of Parasite. But again, chronologically, this came out first. There's a very vibrant color palette that goes across the entire spectrum. So while you'd watch a movie like Emma, for example, like I did, and they rely more heavily on pastel and it pops, but in a very nice, aesthetically pleasing way. I believe those are the exact words I used back in my old review. This movie was very vibrant colors of green shrubbery to antique to antique old money homes to the darkness of a dank basement to they nailed the entire spectrum with the color choices they were making. So yeah, good job for the cinematography department. No complaints there, like I said. Acting and directing, again, the acting, I have no complaints about the acting. Every character inhibits their role. Every character brings forth that role and their quirks, including any additional narrative twists that may occur, or the either evil, the good, the naive, the dark, the sexual. Jesus, I'm gonna keep falling back on it, but the sexual tension in this movie is palpable, to say the least. So, I mean, whew, Jesus Christ. Like I said, narratively, it was interesting. When I started the film, I was curious to see if it would hold my attention. By the way, I should have probably mentioned this earlier. The Handmaiden is a foreign film. So again, get past the old hurdle of subtitles and you're in for a wild ride. Because this movie is quite the ride. And it's also like a movie where you can't really have it on in the background, which is also what, like, it took me a while to get around to seeing it, because whenever I watch a movie for the review, I want to make sure that I sit down and watch it with, like, no obstructions, no interruptions. I want to, and this movie's 2.5 hours, just shy of 2.5 hours, and it's a foreign film. It's a foreign film that you have to basically read the subtitles for, so you have to have 2.5 hours of uninterrupted concentration, which in nowadays modern world, I don't know if you've tried it or not, but it can be difficult. Quarantine or not, this boy still works, so I had to wait for, like, the perfect storm, the perfect night where I could sit down and, like, really watch this and actually watch it. And so finally the night came and I did, and now here I am. But yeah, it's a foreign film, but narratively it's interesting, so it held my attention throughout, and I was curious, very curious to see where the narrative was going to go. I think my biggest two problems of the movie were that the tone danced around a lot. Like, it's one thing for a movie to find and know its tone and to have moments of relief from that tone. Like, you have, like, a horror movie or a drama, but, you know, like, or a romantic comedy, but while it's all mostly dramatic or horrific or what have you, respectively, there are these moments of relief that come through either the comedy, through a little bit of, like, another genre being spliced in, or beats or moments that wouldn't typically be associated with that genre that are kind of put in there for relief or to kind of give it like a little bit of a change up here and there. But more often than not, films are able to do this without detracting from the overall tone. I felt like this movie, I want to say it suffered from it, because, like, through 90% of this movie, I felt like, okay, this is supposed to be a drama. This is supposed to be, you know, the story of so-and-so and so-and-so, and now there's this romance involved, but there's also now these other narrative bits that are kind of coming on in that end up changing how you thought the narrative was going to be, and you're following all that, and then the director chooses, or whoever did it, chooses to add in these really, really quick moments of, like, like, I admit I laughed, but it was just, I think it's because the humor that was used in these moments here and there, which not frequently, but when it did happen, it was just kind of so jarring that I was just like, like, what? And I don't know, like, because, like, Train to Busan did that, but they were like, you know, it didn't, whenever there are moments where I, like, chuckled or laughed where it's like, hey, idiot, you make sure you don't get us killed or whatever, I'm like, I never thought, like, oh, that's an odd place to put in a comedic beat. It just kind of flowed naturally from the story. Tone in this movie just really just kind of doesn't sit 100% too well with me. It just goes back and forth between, like, drama to, like, really sexually charged to kind of horrific to sad to all of a sudden comedic, and then it's like back to drama. And, like, this movie didn't go overboard. I just feel like its comedic elements were just a little bit misplaced, you know? Maybe my issue with this last point of contention stems from the fact that I am American, I am English, and this movie was not in English. Maybe there was a language barrier there. Maybe I just was not connecting the dots in my head like anybody else. I was just being an idiot. I had some confusion. Like, this movie's split into 3 parts. Like, literally, it says part 1, part 2, part 3. There was a good amount of confusion for me. I was trying to piece together the narrative from the end of part 1 to part 2. Now, after about 15 or 20 minutes of part 2 in the movie, it definitely solidified, and I was able to be like, oh, okay, I now understand what they're telling and showing me. But for a good 15 to 20 minutes, I was confused. I was kind of lost. I was like, I think I see what the movie's trying to tell me, but I just 100% can't see for sure. And that's not really what I'm looking for in a movie-going experience. Again, I admit, might be my fault. Might be because either I wasn't paying attention to the right details, or because the movie is a foreign language film that just, I was just trying to, I wasn't able to follow it as cohesively as perhaps an English film. But I digress. I guess I'll give a rating and then talk about the film just in general. I really enjoyed the film, but I didn't love the film. But at the same time, I'm more than willing to give the film like a really good review because overall I can tell it's a good quality film. And even though it wasn't like, oh my god, this is one of the best films I've ever watched, how have I slept on this for so long, I can still, in a fair sense, be like, yeah, no, I mean, this movie deserves a high rating. With that being said, I mean, I'd give The Handmaiden, which was released in 2016, a foreign film, well, for us anyway, a solid, I give it a solid 4 out of 5. I mean, I have no qualms with the film. I mean, I do. Like, a couple bits that would detract it from it being like a perfect 5 out of 5. Like, would I watch it again? Yes, probably, but the circumstances for when I would watch it, I have no idea. This film is, like I said, this film evokes some Parasite vibes for me. So, I mean, if you enjoyed Parasite, you probably enjoy this. If you like foreign films, you'll probably enjoy this. If you liked Old Boy or Lady Vengeance, you'll probably enjoy this movie, I'd say. If you like foreign films that have a complex narrative with interesting characters and a very sexually charged film, like, my god. Not that I have a problem with sexually explicit content, but, like, I get that sex is definitely part of this film, or rather, not sex, but more eroticism, or like literotica, like eroticism for sure. But like, I don't know, like it was so erotically charged in sections that it almost took me out of the film. This film has me feeling guarded, if that makes any sense. I felt like I should have really enjoyed this film, and I mean, I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a good film. I thought it's definitely deserving and worthy of a 4 out of 5, but I mean, for me, I just don't see this as a movie that I would be like, oh my god, friends, family, you gotta see this. It's like, no, this would come up if I were talking about it in a film class, or if I had a film friend or someone, I know someone in particular who's very much into Japanese erotica, so I think they might like it. But The Handmaiden's a really good film, and a lot of the critics out there would say that it's a fucking fantastic film. It might, but this film is definitely not for everyone. That's the thing. This film has a lot going on, and is a very interesting film, and I enjoyed it. And I'm sure at some point in my life I will watch it again. But it's just a hard film to put into words. I don't know. That's about all I have to say about it. Like, I don't know. If you're like me when it comes to films, you'll probably want to give it a watch. But if you're just your average film goer, I don't know if I can recommend this one for you. Like I said, it's just a lot of investment, really. You either got to be alone or with somebody who's really open to the oddities of film and eroticism. I keep saying that, but goddamn, long film, drama, very erotic, foreign. If it checks all these boxes for you, then I mean, you're in for a good time. That was my review on The Handmaiden. Again, it was another request. As always, I'm always taking requests for films to review. So feel free to comment below any films you want me to watch and review. I don't know if this quarantine is going to be lifted in the next month or so. I sure would love to go out to the theater again and see a movie, especially since all the ones I was very excited for have been pushed back to the end of the fucking year. But, you know, them's the breaks. That's where the marbles land. But as you can see, I got plenty of movies to draw from if I want to review some more. So I might end up starting to review some of my favorites soon. Who knows? But in the meantime, thank you guys and gals so much for watching. I always appreciate the support. We're again getting close to 1,000 subscribers. We're like 30 away, just about. So feel free to subscribe or like if you like the video. But in the meantime, this has been MovieMan reviewing The Handmaiden. And I hope to see you guys in the next movie review. So, goodbye, travelers.